welcome to Maths Made Clear with me, Miss Snowden.
And me, Mr. Burrows. Today we are going to be looking at decimals and percentages, ways in which you can help your child with those particular topics at home.
Let's go.
So the best way that we can start to try to explain what decimals are and how we use decimals is to think about the number system that we use. So when we think about it, 10 ones make 10, 10 tens make 100, 10 hundreds make 1,000, and so on. But actually, what happens when we're looking at numbers that have parts that are less than 1? Well, it works in exactly the same way. We still have the same number system. We still count in tens. But we count in tens when we're looking at parts of a whole, parts of 1. So we might look at 10 tenths. That would make a whole. We might look at 100 100ths. That makes a whole as well. Best way that I can show it, though, is to use 100 square. So here's one here. And what I want you to imagine is that this 100 square is a whole. It's the number 1. These 100 parts, when added together, equals one whole. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to colour in one of those parts, one of those 100 parts. So now we have one part of 100. So we have no wholes, we have no parts of 10, so I'm going to put another 0 there. And then we've got 100, so I'm going to put a 1 here. So this can be represented as 0 point, our decimal point, to show that we're going into less than a whole now, less than 1. 0 for no tenths, 1. 0.01. If I then counted in another 9 of my 100 parts, so now I've got 10 of the 100 counted in. Well, now I've got 10, I've got one of my 10 parts. I've got a tenth coloured in. So this is a decimal, would be 0, because again, I don't have the whole yet. Point, to show that we're going for less than 1. 1. 0.1. 1/10. 10 of 100.
That's right. So when we start to talk about decimals, we often think about money first, as it's the first way children are exposed to numbers in a decimal form. Here we have some pictures of money. So how much money have we got? Well, we can see that on the left side we've got £3 here and 3p here. So we've got £3 and 3p, and I can write that at the top. And here we've got £15, we've got 10 plus 5, so that's £15, and these coins here make up 32p. We can write these numbers like this: £3 and 3p, and £15 and 32p. Money is also a great way of introducing to children the size of decimals. So we could look at which is bigger, £1.20, written like this, or 70p. Here we can easily see that £1.20 is bigger than 70 because £1.20 starts with a 1, so we've got 1.20, and for 70p we start with a 0 before the decimal points. We've got 0.70. So here we can easily see that £1.20 is bigger than 70p, or 1.2 is bigger than 0.7. The part after the dot, the decimal point, is also called the decimal part. With money, it's pence, this part. So 32p can be written as 0.32 pounds instead of 32p.
Brilliant. So let's have a look at the other number. We've looked at the 32p being 0.32. What about £15 and 32p? Here it is written out. As we can see, to the left of the decimal point, we've got the 15, the 1/5. That's the whole number. We've got 15 wholes, £15. But then to the right, we have a 3 and a 2. That's the decimal. That's the part that's less than the whole. So let's have a think about our place value. Remember, place value means what each digit means in a number. Does it mean that it's ones, tens, hundreds, or when we're talking about decimal points, tenths or hundreds? So we've got 1 in the tens column because we've got a 10. We've got 5 in the ones column because we've got 5 ones. And then we've got our decimal point. Let's have a look at the other 2 columns. We have a 3 in the tenths column and a 2 in the hundreds column. So we've got 3 tenths and 2 hundredths. When we're thinking about money, that's the same as 32 pence. Well, why do we have tenths and hundredths here? Well, it's related to the fact that actually it works in exactly the same way when we're talking about decimals as when we talk with money. There are 100 pence in £1. Thinking about the example that we looked at earlier, there are 100 100ths in a whole. So it's actually a really nice way of being able to look at it. So if we had £15 and 99 pence, for example, and added a penny, then we would have to turn those 100 pennies, we'd have to make an exchange, going back to addition and subtraction, we'd have to make an exchange to form a new pound. So it would be £16. And so if we're looking at that in terms of decimals, if we had 15.99, 15 wholes, 9 tenths, 9 hundredths, if we added another hundredth, we would have 100 hundredths, which is the same as a whole. So then we would have 16 in total.
So once we understand this, we begin to look at decimals as fractions. If we had the fraction 1/4, we might want to find equivalent fractions for this. To do that, we would multiply the top number and the bottom number by the same amount. So if we multiplied it by 2, we'd then have 2/8. If we multiply the top and the bottom by 4, for example, we would then have 4/16. However, in a special case, if we would be multiplying the top and the bottom by 25, we would find ourselves with 25 out of 100. Now, we can convert this fraction into a decimal. It's just a division sum, so we could get this by doing a division. 25 divided by 100 is 0.25. To divide any number by 100, all we have to do is move the digits 2 spaces to the right. So 25 out of 100 can also be a percentage, because 0.25 means that the percentage to represent this would be 25%. Percentages are just special fractions where the denominator is always 100. So if we were looking at 4 hundredths, for example, this is the same as 4%. You could take any number for that fact. 75 hundredths is the same as 75%. 0.75 is equivalent to 75% as well as 75 over 100.
So you probably see decimals everywhere. They are quite common, but money is probably, from our perspective as teachers, is probably the most important thing that they're used for. And actually, if you try to add decimals together, so if we talk about money, if we had, for example, and you can see it on the board here, £5.35, and then someone gave you £4.51, how much would you have? Well, we can set it out like a column addition. If you go back to our addition video, you can see that. We do it exactly the same way. The only thing that's different is that we need to be really careful about putting the decimal point back in, otherwise you will get the wrong answer. But if you manage to do that, you'll be absolutely fine. Have a look. We're going to start with the hundredths. Remember, we talk about the smallest place value column. That's always the one over to the right. So it's going to be 5 plus 1 equals 6. And then we're going to move over to the tenths, which is going to be 3 tenths plus 5 tenths, which will give us 8 tenths. And then we're going to add the wholes, the £1, £5 and £4, which gives us £9. So in total, you would have £9 and 86 pence. Another thing that we can use, and this involves percentages really more than anything else, is we can look at discounts. Now, we see these all the time in supermarkets and shops. You might see someone say that this product has got 15% off. Sounds great. What does that actually mean? Well, let's say the price of the item originally is £24. Well, if it says that there's 15% off, then the seller is knocking 15% off of that £24. So you're going to get it cheaper. But how much cheaper? Well, we think about percentages. All a percentage means is that you're going to take a value, in this case £24, and divide it into 100 equal parts. So if I divide 24 by 100, that would give me 1%. All right? So if I did that, actually, if I divide 24 by 100, I'm going to get 0.24, 24 pence. So 1% of £24 is 24 pence. In that case, maybe I can think about what 10% might be. Well, in that case, it would be 24 divided by 10. Well, that would give me £2.40. So I know that 10% of £24 is £2.40. Well, then I can work out what 5% is, because if I know that 10% is £2.40, then if I halve that, then I'll get 5%. So 5% will be £1.20. So then if I add that together, my £2.40 and my £1.20, I'm going to get £3.60. So I'm taking £3.60 off my £24, which is going to leave me with £20.40. What a bargain.
Thank you so much for watching this video. We really hope it's helped you understand decimals and percentages a little bit more.
Now, obviously, if you do have any questions about decimals and percentages, then do please come and find your class teacher or any teacher in the school. We would always be more than happy to help. And please go and check out all of the other videos that we have produced as part of Maths Made Clear. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.